In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Hey, do y'all like fishing for prizes? Maybe a trip to Costa Rica or a once-in-a-lifetime African safari? Well, the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo is back. Thanks to the hard work of Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Trilogy Outdoors Media, this once-popular event is back and is bigger and better than ever. This event is comprised of 12 monthly competitions that culminate in November with our annual banquet and expo, the celebration of fishing on the Grand Strand. New to this event is the freshwater division that will help include all of our anglers that live and visit the Grand Strand throughout the year. Monthly species winners will receive great prize packages from Bass Pro Shop and Surf Signs and Designs. But most importantly, they will receive an invite for them and a guest to our annual banquet and an entry in the grand prize drawing. So whether you fish the rivers, a pond, the pier, the surf, or a boat, you have a chance to win the grand prizes. To get signed up or for additional information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com and click on event. Also, you can visit any of our weigh stations and registration stations to get signed up as well. Best of luck to everyone, and we'll see you at the scale. Trilogy Outdoors. All right, it's time for another episode of Trilogy Outdoors podcast, and going to be a little bit different voices in today's episode as we have brought the show on the road, and we are at Murrells Inlet Fishing Charters, hanging out with the incredible group of captains down here. Wow, that just cut off, didn't it? That's crazy. I didn't even get to fade it out there, Captain Jason.
Said pow.
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 Exactly.
We're back.
Little stranglehold to start us off, and we are at Murrells Inlet Fishing Charters down here on the beautiful Marsh Walk of Murrells Inlet. And this week, the Senator is out training for his big trip coming up in June, where he will be defending our country on foreign soil. He'll be with Special Forces down in Djibouti, Africa.
That is a long way from South Carolina.
A long way away from South Carolina. And that voice you heard is the Flounder Pounder. You heard him a couple weeks ago on the show. And he is going to be standing in from time to time over the next 6 to 8 months for Stephen when he's busy defending our country and fulfilling his, that's beyond his civic duty, and that's beyond his duty as a senator. I think we all agree, Jason and I do for sure, that he is the epitome of a patriot and absolutely the person we want for senator. And he'll be up for re-election in 2 years, and we'll be promoting him.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the podcast, not just because he's my partner, but because I believe in him. And like Jason said earlier, he is definitely the person we want on our side.
Yeah, and you got to tip your hat to him, to every other person who serves this country. The freedoms that we have today, everything we do is because somebody's out there fighting for us, and you got to keep that in mind. That is true, and I feel for his family. I feel for Renee, Tripp, and Hadley. He's going to be gone for 9 months, and that's one thing. He said it on the show a couple weeks ago that his turkey season has been very limited because he feels like he needs to spend most of his time at home. Yeah. As I'm sure all of us would if we knew we were leaving for 8 to 9 months. Yeah. You'd want to spend time with your family, but he has found some time to get out and harvested a turkey last week, and he's going to do some fishing from time to time and hopefully take the kids fishing. But we're talking fishing today, and we're going to be talking a lot of fishing today, and we're talking with some of the best captains you're going to find in the Southeast and beyond. And I'm not saying that just because they're my friends and I'm kind of biased, but I'm saying it's just because it's the dang truth. And we are at Murrells Inlet Fishing Charters with the Flounder Pounder here. We've got, joining us starting off, we got Captain Chris Reagan and
Captain Caleb Hartley from On the Fly Outfitters, and we're going to talk charters, man. There's so much, today I had a customer of Caleb's. Did we decide it was Caleb's?
I believe it was.
A customer of Caleb's from last week had a mutual friend reach out to me because they were worried that they didn't tip enough. And we're not going to start off talking about gratuity. We got a lot more to talk about. But, there's a lot of people that just don't understand. They don't know. I grew up in Lake City. Hell, I feel bad for any waitress or waiter that waited on me as a kid in high school, on a date. I didn't know to tip, man. So I'd go to Applebee's in Florence. That's the only thing we could do.
Yeah.
Go to Applebee's in Florence and probably drove them crazy and tip probably $2. And honestly, I mean.
Well, tipping, you definitely want to take care of people, but at that junction in life, you're maybe not financially, able to leave, 20, 30% tip or something.
No, but the other thing is a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that, and you guys have all collectively had some of the incredible experiences where it's like a competition to see who can tip the most, and then you've had those other scenarios where it's like, all right, quick, you talk to him, and I'm gonna slide out this way, and then as soon as he turns his back, you go this way, and we're not gonna tip. But there's a lot of different things that go into why they should tip, and for the most part, first and foremost, I don't think it should have to do with the fish caught, and we can talk more about that, but I don't think it has to do with the fish that are actually caught on the trip. I think there's a lot more that goes into why a gratuity should be given.
I agree with you 100% because fishing is fishing. It's called fishing. It's not called catching, just like everybody tells you to. But there's a whole entertainment side of it. Your conversation, your music selection, you're entertaining with kids, and there's so much more that goes into it to creating an environment that is fun when you're on vacation. You're having a blast. If you're catching fish, that's a bonus. If you're bailing them in side over side, that's awesome.
Yep.
So I think a lot of that goes into it, and you just got to have fun.
Well, there's no doubt about it that the captain sets the mood for the entire trip.
Right off the bat.
It's their job.
Right off the bat. It is very important.
And that's where it happens. It happens before you get on the boat.
Yeah.
It happens, that handshake, that introduction, that
the first
where you
joke
guys from.
The first time you start cracking on them, and depends how they take it. So if they take it, they're all quiet. All right, maybe I went a little too far, but then when they give it right back to you, it's going to be a good day. Those are the fun ones.
It is funny because like you said, we meet these people. We've never met them before a day in life. They walk down, get on the boat, and my day always starts the same. Hi, my name's Jason. Where are you guys from? Blah blah blah. And you just wait until one of them takes a jab at each other, or you kind of throw something.
The first
out
one
there.
that cusses,
the
it's good.
first one that cusses, you say, okay, this is this is okay, but it's funny. The first 5 minutes, you're like feeling each other out, and by the end of the trip, on my boat, we're drilling each other or something. We're making fun of a fish you lost.
Yeah.
Or they're making fun of
the bass hook set.
Yeah,
missed, the state record that could have been on the line.
Oh.
That was the other thing is you mentioned the cuss words. The thing is you got to decide which filter you got to use.
Yeah.
Which filter. We all get excited. Every single one of us right here is competitive anyway.
Super.
So when y'all get on the boat, your first objective is obviously make sure they have fun, but secondly, you want to catch more fish than every other boat. We all know that. We're all competitive. But you're going to get excited. At some point in time, you're going to miss a fish. Something's going to happen. You're going to give that, oh, hell, oh, damn.
Yeah.
You got to figure out which one you can use, And it's
kids on the boat, how much beer did they bring?
Right. How much
Is there any liquor?
Yeah.
Yes, that determines how your trip is going to go.
So that's what I was going to say. Obviously does it not make you? Do you feel better, or do you feel a little more hesitant when you see them come down with 2 cases of beer for a 4-hour trip?
I love it.
Okay.
I'm just like a bad singer. The more drunk you are, the better I am at my job.
Yep.
That's right.
And probably the funnier I am.
The more fun you have.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
People be cracking up over nothing.
Yeah.
And it's all about having a good time. And
what kind of music do you want to listen to?
And that's the thing. We incorporate music. I tell all my charters, part of my safety speech when we leave in the morning, so what kind of music you want to listen to? Here's a scenario. When we move from spot to spot, we're going to blast some music, and we're going to jam out. And when we get to the fishing hole, I'll turn it off. So it's just low music that won't mess with the fish.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how many times on that initial takeoff in the morning, you crank up a good song and you look back there and everybody's jamming and smiling, and it's like, all right, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same thing when you leave.
Yes.
You know what my entrance song is when I'm coming in the canal? Closing time.
Yep.
You know?
That is not a good ending song.
It's the perfect time. When you're bringing people back to the dock, you put that song on, they know the trip's over.
That song's depressing. I remember when I used to sit at the bar and they would play that, and you know your night's over.
But then they want to come back and do it again, and you end it on that.
That means it's over.
Well, the trip is over, though.
I'm just thinking back to the bar days.
Oh, yeah.
Closing time. All right, well.
Yeah. Lights are dimming, or
Yeah.
lights are coming on when they
That's
close.
when you look around, find the fattest one that's sitting by herself, and grab her and head home.
Inglis has been to the bar with me.
They're all over there like this, pointing at you.
Closing time means I can go by myself or I can go with somebody else. And
Yeah.
whatever's left is your best option.
Yep. Look around and find the ugliest one that's sitting by herself, hopefully,
Okay.
Yep.
and try to get out without having to fight.
I always ask a genre.
Yeah.
And
See,
you-
I go the other way. I always say, what do you not want to listen to?
Oh, that's true, too.
Because most people are like, oh, just anything. And then you start playing,
And then they're like, well.
and then you see them
try
back
something
there
else.
like not jamming out.
Yep.
So I always say, what do you not want to listen to? Because I'm going to put it on shuffle or I can put a genre on.
That's a good call. I always ask for the genre. Like, what do you want to start with?
That's what I do.
So,
And the go-to, like, if they don't know, I put reggae on.
Yep.
Everybody likes reggae.
so we've established that it's very important to have a soundtrack for your charter.
It is.
It is.
And music, which I know about every single boat down here has got
Most-
y'all got
most-
incredible systems on them.
Yeah. Oh, all our boats have. And I mean, there's the thing is we don't get all fishing charters. I had a couple. Oh, I say couple. It was two guys come down here the other day, and wife shopping, families out and about.
They forgot their beer.
They forgot their beer. And I'm pulling off the dock, and I said, did y'all bring beer? And he said, well, we didn't know that it was allowed. They're from Maine.
Yep.
On Maine, alcohol is not permitted over water. Did not know that.
Ah.
For real.
That's what they told me. If they're liars, then I'm interpreting. So I told him, I said, well, here's the scenario. We got 4 hours. I said, I'll give you one scenario. I said, I could drop you off at the dock. I said, I'll have somebody run to the gas station, pick you up a case of beer. We're going to lose a max of 15, 20 minutes. Or we can ride around and you can whine about how you forgot your beer all day. We go get beer. Moral of the story is we caught one fish. One. My man said, all right, mission accomplished. Crank the music up. We got 3 hours left. We want to see the sights, and we want to drink.
They didn't want to fish anymore.
And we turned
That's
into
right.
a 3-hour tour, not the kind like where you don't come home, but
Yeah.
we ended up cruising around looking at houses, looking at, scenery.
Those
Yep.
are the best. And
And-
I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're
Yeah.
just talking about, what houses cost or if they want to move here, going back
God.
into Oyster Cove or any of that stuff.
The more I think about it as captains, I think we're like that old Western movie where you walk in, and the guy puts the one hat on.
You're an entertainer.
Yeah, we're an entertainer. We're a DJ. We're a bartender.
Yeah.
We're fishing guides.
I give people beers all the time.
We're education. I mean,
I'll crack it open and put it in the koozie for you.
dude, I'm a
Play
huge.
bartender.
I will. I'll mix
Absolutely.
drinks too.
Wherever Quentin is the best. I've sat beside him, and he won't let his customers open a beer. He's a better bartender than Inglis was back in the old Sling 'em days.
I'm not going to tell on Quentin, but I am going to tell on Quentin because McClure already did. But, man, they got a freaking $750 tip 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
Yeah. They
that's
killed it.
for a 5-hour trip, 4 hour.
Or
that is
4 hour.
extremely high.
And it was kids
Yeah.
and an aunt.
Kids are the best.
I thought it was like a drunk corporate trip. I figured it was a drunk corporate trip. No, it was a kids with an aunt, and the aunt didn't even fish. All she did was wanted to watch. We'll give him a chance in a little bit to
Okay.
talk about it. Yeah, we'll give him a chance.
Talking about your excessive tip.
Yeah, we're talking about that-
We'll give you a microphone
that
here
big
in a minute.
tip. McClure told on you.
We won't
But,
talk about what he actually had to do on that trip.
Oh yeah.
We'll leave that. We'll leave
That's
that part
the other
out.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of behind the scenes stories to talk about. Jason's got a couple I know that are good, and I'm sure both of y'all do too as well.
Raw and uncut.
Yeah, raw and uncut, and we can do that here. This is not the Southern English Radio Show on Gator 107.9. This is on all the podcast platforms. We can say whatever the hell we want. So, without a doubt, so you've established your soundtrack. You've got them on the boat. You've gone out, and you're starting to fish. How about that guy that says, after about just give it 20 minutes of not getting a bite or catching a fish. And he goes, so back on Lake Erie, this is what we do back there. How about that guy?
That's 90% of our conversation.
All the time. All the time.
I think I could go to any of the Great Lakes and troll for walleye now.
Yeah.
I've heard it all
100%.
times.
I have never ate walleye in my life, but I swear I can taste it.
It's actually really good.
Yeah, I've had it.
Everybody's like,
It's
"Oh, it's the
actually
best tasting
incredible.
fish."
Yeah,
You know.
it is super delicious.
It is.
With those kind of clients, I usually, I tell them off the gate, like, it's a fickle inlet. There's days it shows out in its true potential, and there's days when it shuts off, even though the conditions are right. And I'll tell them right out the gate, I have one guarantee, and that's I'm going to try my best.
That's it.
Whatever happens from there, happens from there.
That's all you can do.
That's the only thing you can do is honestly tell them that you are going to try your best. And that was where, back to the tip thing, that I think where the tip becomes, where it completely should be judged off of, is whether you put every effort into it. And not only entertain them, but you put every effort into catching a fish and making sure that they got the best opportunity.
You got to try. You got to put people in the best spot where you believe fish are. You got to put effort in, or else
Yeah.
you can be Joe Schmo from anywhere else.
And
blah,
that's
blah,
not-
blah.
Then you're going to be one of the top-ranked charter boats on Fishing Booker.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what, it bothers us to a sense that there are guides. Obviously, we would never say a name.
No, we're not.
But there's guides that will take you to their favorite fishing hole, and they will anchor up, and you fish for whatever amount of time you have. They don't move. They don't go anywhere. And their motto is sometimes they bite, sometimes they don't. We move so much. Some of us, we have competitions of, who moved more today. Because,
And who moved the least?
who moved the least.
Yep.
Because some of us, we ain't going to say no names, it's kind of like a Jack Russell, running around. And then you got other ones that just sit there all day and just kind of wait for the fish to kind of come to them. And
But the sad part, the reality is, there's spots that you have to go there and camp out.
yes.
You know the fish are going to bite there. and
But
you
if
gotta-
if you're not there, somebody else is going to get in
you're
there.
going to have 4 boats there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt
You
that.
get there and you got to put 8 rods out when you got 2 people just to hold the spot.
Well, for a lot of our listeners probably have no idea about Merle's Inlet. May have never been here before, but don't realize that. What are we? 5 miles long? Is that right? 5 miles, and roughly in most areas about 1.5 miles wide.
Yeah.
2 miles maybe. I don't even think it's that far.
Yeah, you got
But we're a
6
small
square miles
place.
of backwater.
Yep.
So when that wind's blowing,
Everybody's camped in the same
Everybody's
5 spots.
back there.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the fact that over the last 3 years, everybody and their brother bought a boat,
quadruple.
Yeah.
and they're watching YouTube and learning how to fish, so they all know how to do it. So they're looking for the boats with wraps on them.
They sit there with binoculars.
There you go.
They're camping out.
Yeah, you don't need a fish finder. It's a good pair of binoculars, a lot cheaper.
That's all you need.
Yep, just look for the boats that are out there.
But it's still amazing. He was making reference to how small this inlet is.
Yeah, it is.
It produces every day.
It does.
We are very fortunate. Don't know if it's fact. Don't fact check me on it, but I've heard we're one of 2 inlets on the entire East Coast that has no freshwater connection, no
That's right.
rivers, no ponds. So basically we're filled up and emptied with possibly a fresh batch of fish every 6 hours, which is something very rare. So it's gotta do that, because this pond would have been fished out a long time ago.
I think it also helps us a lot when we do get a lot of rain and things of that nature. A couple tide cycles, and it normally cleans right up.
Mm-hmm.
Where, we all know if it rains and down in Winyaw and such, you get all that dirty water coming down through the 5 rivers and everything else,
I tell you,
here.
This
not as
time of
bad.
year, I fished that salt tournament the other day.
That's right.
And, it wasn't the clarity. It wasn't all that stuff. It was all the trawlers. Everyone heading from Florida back up
It's
north.
travel time. That's right.
I took a beating in the flats boat.
Yep.
I couldn't go over 19 miles an hour because and Hannah was loving it. She's sitting on the bow, Indian style, holding on to the casting platform on the flats boat, loving it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yep. So the Elite Series was here in 2017, last time, whenever, 18, and they were here this week or next week, and it was during the transient time, and it was the first time, or it was the first year was 16 or 17, but they opened up that Cooper River area, and I was a marshal, and I got to ride twice 2 days back to back down the Intercoastal Waterway, running 70, 80 miles an hour all the way to the Cooper River and passing those trawlers. And let me tell you, them boys know a lot about driving a bass boat, but they know little about they don't see those trawlers a lot. They don't understand
dealing with that.
the displacement. Yeah. And so there was several times that my rear end was like 2 feet off the seat.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow, that was a big one. I was like, yeah, no shit. And I mean, I'm over there white-knuckled, and I think one ride was 2 hours, and then with the other guy, it was like an hour and 50-something minutes. Got time to there and back. And that's a one-way trip in a bass boat. That's a long way with it. And I was sitting in the side with no windshield or nothing. My face felt like it was like hanging off my shoulders. But it was incredible. But that Intercoastal Waterway this time of the year is crazy with all the trawlers.
We were in the Hells Bay, so Hannah and I there was nothing we could do.
Nope.
You know, you just sit there, you just find the speed, and you just ride it, and you're just whoa.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what though, you guys have been so busy. We talked about it. I think Jason and I talked about it on the podcast 2 weeks ago when he sat in with us. You guys have been incredibly busy. Let's talk. I mean, Easter.
Yep.
Was way up over years in the past. Do y'all think from COVID, do you think it's people like saying, screw it, I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to get out? I mean, what do y'all think?
In my opinion, and we'll ask Chris and Caleb theirs, my opinion is I just think people are tired of crap. I think you turn on the TV, the stock market's down,
Everything.
Gas prices are up, the economy sucks, wages are down. If you turn on the TV, it ruins your day.
Yep.
Everything's negative.
But the reality is this. Most people are out there working their butts off.
Yeah.
And most people, the American dream, you work, you acquire some money, you develop a family. My thing is if I work and I bust my butt, it doesn't matter what I get paid. When it's time to go on vacation, nothing's going to get in between that. If that means that I got to cut out, some eating out at restaurants or whatever I need to budget my life, I think the American people are going to work hard, and they're going to take a vacation, and they want to take their families on a vacation that they'll remember, and I don't think they care what is going on in the world.
You go in debt over it.
Yeah.
You pay it over time.
Exactly.
It's no different than when we go to Florida.
Exactly.
Anything goes. You want to eat Wagyu tonight? Do it.
Yeah.
Woo!
You know?
Yeah, that's some good stuff, too.
It is,
I got
85
introduced to
Wagyu.
that. I got introduced
Ooh,
to that. Thank you, Captain Justin. Captain Justin's playing bartender. We'll get him over here in a little bit, but he's playing bartender for us. That's great.
Sound effects.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Little Mick Ultra here. Thank you, Southern Crown Partners, located on the Grand Strand down in Charleston. Our wonderful partners here in the podcast, too. But, so I guess I kind of started talking about it, but who are the people you want when you're standing at the boat on the bow of the boat waiting on them to come down? Who are the group you want to see come down through? Give me your perfect description if you're going to look at them aesthetically of who's coming down the steps. Who's it going to be coming down the steps?
I got it off the gate.
Go for it. Come on.
It just happened to me 2 weeks ago. 2 guys in Sims bibs with raccoon eyes.
There you go.
I knew right out the gate.
See,
You knew you had some anglers on the boat.
That's what I wanted.
I'm the opposite.
That's
I'm
what
the
I wanted.
opposite.
I'm the opposite. I want the 2 kids, the family that has 0 experience.
Yep.
I'm teaching them how to cast. It's their first time out, blah, 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 first saltwater fish. Those are my favorites.
I agree with Chris. I want one of the kids to catch a lizardfish and freak out like I caught a sailfish.
Yeah.
Because the pure level of excitement and expectations on people who don't have the experience is great because they appreciate all the things that maybe we take for granted. We catch a lot of trash fish, and we catch a lot of things that, to somebody in Tennessee or something who's used to freshwater fishing and brim fishing, that's something cool. I mean, all these guys can vouch for it because we all mess with them.
Yep.
Dock monsters, as we call them. We catch stingrays, and we think it's fun, but people are going back home telling their families, we went to the beach and did battle with 100-pound fish. And even though they're considered not, a trophy that you would hang on your wall, that's probably what they're going to talk about.
Well, when is that time of the year?
Right now.
Oh,
That's what I thought.
It all depends.
Starting to crank up.
Because the big Southerns aren't here yet.
There's a handful.
But there's a bunch of cow nose. There's a whole bunch of other ones here. It's fun.
And for those that are listening, we are talking about stingrays, and we are, yes, they are, Florida, I think they target the heck out of them down there.
Yeah.
And they are a formidable foe to do battle with on rod and reel. They will stretch out. They will wear out your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Caleb here, I believe, made the local news by catching one of the largest ones in Myrtle's Inlet history a couple years ago.
Yeah, we got on a good run there for a minute. we had them kind of baited into a hole, and we knew if the tide was right, we were getting 2 to 6 bites, and they were all 80 to 120.
That's fun stuff. You're used to catching 3-pound bass in the river or whatever.
Yeah.
Pound and a half sunfish from Ohio.
Yeah. It was fun, man, and if it helps on charters because there's days when you can't get a game fish to bite. Your trout, flounder, reds, whatever, and you need a pull on the line.
Yeah.
You can get a big critter, and stretch that line out.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I remember early in my career, I had a trip like Banner Day. Like we went offshore, we caught king mackerel, we came inshore, caught big flounder. I mean, had a box full, and it was just like you pull up to the marina. I mean, you got the swag going because you're like, I got them. My charter that day hops off the phone, runs up to like their family. It's like, you're never gonna believe this. It was the best day of my life. We caught a shark and a stingray and some other fish that they kept talking about. They sat on the dock and talked about that shark and stingray for 2 hours, and here I am, the best day I've probably ever had. And immediately I'm like,
that's all they remember?
It didn't matter. That's what they remembered.
Exactly.
And that's
so. I had a charter. This was probably 2 years ago with an NBA player, and awesome dude. He brought some of his family down, and it was an afternoon trip in probably late July. It's 110 degrees, wind's blowing 30 out the south, and I was already like, I just need something to bite. We pull up to a creek mouth and go 5 for probably 20 on flounder. And I was like, this is banner.
Yeah, this is great.
This is unbelievable. And we had 2 flounder over 20 inches, and these guys each, there was 4 of them on the boat, had made bets, $100 bets, biggest, most species. They had all these bets going. And I was like, man, we just whacked the flounder. Like, especially for the conditions, that was a stellar day. And then one of the guys hooks a stingray. And all hell broke loose.
Oh, yeah.
And from that point on, I was like, all right, they're never going to understand what we've just done with the flounder. I've got a stingray fish for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the rest of the afternoon, we stingray fished.
That's how it is.
And that was the best day of their life.
And it's so much fun.
Yeah. But that goes back to telling us the expectations of the people we're taking fishing, we don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
you
You're right.
don't know.
No, you got.
And the day that you considered, go the other way. I've been out there on days where a guy walks up and says, hey, I want to catch flounder and redfish. It's my dream to catch flounder and redfish. Well, guess what? It's one of those days. Northeast wind, can't get them to bite.
Yeah.
Nothing goes your way. And then you end up catching a shark.
Yep.
You end up catching a stingray or maybe a big ladyfish.
The trash can slam.
The trash can slam,
Works
baby.
every time.
And the man walks off the boat, shakes your hand, and says, man, that was the best time ever. And when he walks away, you're initially thinking, man, that guy's nice because we just stunk it up.
That was
But in his mind, he really did have the best
It's
day.
expectations. I think we set ourselves up for failure because we expect
Greatness.
the best greatness. And it's all the dock chatter, the competition between us.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff. But for anybody else, like, that's something they don't see.
Yeah.
In the pond in Tennessee that they brimfish on, it's not there.
Yep. I'll say you kind of Jason's kind of touched on the same thing that I was thinking is I remember some of the charters where we could be out there and let's just say we were at Myrtle Beach Rock back in the day and the dolphin were inshore all of a sudden and we caught 5 dolphin and we caught a couple king mackerel trolling and I mean, dude, you got to think about it. On an inshore half-day trip, you've just put 5 dolphin in the boat and you got 4 king mackerel that are all big. They literally looked at me. I remember. They looked at me and said, is there anything else we can go do?
Yeah.
And I'm like.
We're not South Florida.
First off, I'm not getting tipped on this one.
Yeah.
Secondly, why couldn't this have happened with so many other regular customers
Oh,
that I
yeah.
was like, why couldn't I have them on here? And they literally wanted to go do something different.
That's
and
the
I'm
day
like,
you want with the guys that show up in Sims
Yes.
bibs and
Yeah.
freaking raccoon.
But it
eyes.
doesn't work like that.
No, it never does.
I was like, what do you want to do? I think we ended up going to 3 Mile maybe and flounder fishing, and then we went to the jetties to try and catch some redfish or something. But I was like, how do you even, like, all I want to do is, like, get home and call everybody and be like, y'all, we caught 5 dolphin at Myrtle Beach Rock.
Yeah, you're screaming on
And-
the radio.
And these guys are like, can we go do something else?
It's funny because you saying that reminds me of like bull red season.
Oh, yeah.
People want to go out there and catch a bull red. Well, it's a strenuous fight.
Hero or zero.
You can't eat them. You
Nope.
know, so people will go out there and they'll catch 1 or 2, and then it's like, okay, that was on my bucket list. I've scratched the bucket list. I can't tell you, we'll be in the middle of the best like drum bite ever, and a guy will go, hey, we got 2 hours left. Can we go flounder fishing?
How about when they get mad because you got to release them?
Yes,
That's
obviously.
that's my favorite.
Yeah, that
And then
is.
you have to sit there and educate them, and you have to explain to them, look, if you kill these fish, you wipe the population out. I don't care. I want it from my wall. Well, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You know.
It is how it works because
Yeah.
we take a really nice picture. I do the paperwork, and
Yeah.
we get you a very nice mount for
Yes,
your
we-
wall.
That
That's
is
right.
very true.
Yeah, do the mount right there.
Gray's
Right, so-
Taxidermy treats me right.
Yes.
So,
Shout out to Grace.
Yeah.
so we're gonna have a lot of time to get together over the next couple months and do this again, and we'll definitely do it some more. But one thing I wanted to touch on, and Jason and I know the three of y'all have kind of really started pushing towards and moving towards, and that is some CPR. And I'm not taking it from I'm not stealing it from you cat fishermen out there. I know y'all claim to have started that. So, but let's the catch, photo, release.
100%.
Yeah.
Why not?
How important do y'all think it is? I mean, for the future of the resources. At the end of the day, we did just talk about how healthy our fishery is here at this point. But how important is it that we do try to, quit hanging out and throwing freezer burnt fish in the garbage can at the end of the year after they've sat in the freezer all year? I think you guys have to be the first ones to do it. I say that because, a lot of people look at y'all. Well, first off, they look at you as the biggest fish killers out there and everything else.
That's the perception, but it's
The
not
perception.
true. You
But
know.
I think that if you take the lead on this and promote it, that other people will fall in line behind you.
And we are. As captains, we are all joining together for one cause, and that is to help our own fisheries. The most obvious thing is we want the next generation to catch fish.
You're helping
but
your livelihood. I mean,
I'll steal the quote from Fred. All these fish are our business associates. They're out here, we're catching these fish, and my thing is you get that trophy fish, like Chris said. You got multiple ways to get replicas.
Yep.
Most people are here on vacation. If they want to take a fish or two home for dinner, that's cool. But the days of showing up and taking a 130 quart cooler of fish home is gone. We are the first line of defense because we're on the water every day. We're probably on the water more than our local DNR agents. And if we take the steps everywhere, I'm talking about every guide in this country, if you take the steps to cut down on the amount of fish that you kill, it's going to naturally improve it. And if we don't stop, the government's going to regulate it to where nobody has it. Our kids will never enjoy what we have today.
Nope.
And that's the worst part. 3 out of the 4 of us have kids. So we are destroying the fishery for our kids.
Yeah.
So if everybody could get together, you go to Florida. You got the Florida Keys Guides Association. You got Captains for Clean Water. You have all these other associations, separate things that fight for that. They have it figured out down there. That's why the Florida Keys is a destination fishery.
Nobody's fighting here.
Right. Everyone here is fighting to take the most fish out of this population.
Not anymore.
You take redfish, you take all that stuff. Everyone is about a cleaning table picture. No one cares about the single picture that has the greatest background that everyone's going to go home, get framed, have a canvas mural replica made. That's the hard part here. All these guys, you look at a redfish. How long does it take a redfish to get to a mature age to where it's a keeper size?
30 plus
4 years.
Right. So if we're taking 30 of those a day, or say 10, or you have 2 people on the boat and you take your 4 every day, what do you go back to?
Yeah.
I told
They're
my
gone.
I told my charter this the other day, and we had a great conversation. Last generation was all about how many fish I can kill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you have our generation, which I think, for somebody of my age, early.
You're old.
I'm old. Early, I caught the end of last generation. So it was the cleaning table pictures.
Yeah.
You know who's leading the charge now is these kids. These kids on YouTube, these teenagers, these kids, I call them kids, people in their 20s, they are leading the way, saying, look, what happened 2 generations ago can't happen again because there's too many people fishing. We can't sustain the fisheries.
Right.
What do you do then as a guide when there's no fish here?
Yeah.
Boat rides.
But back to your point.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Back to your point, I told the guy the other day, and it's funny that you said that. I said, show me one man's office. Show me one mural on, somebody's house. Show me any picture that has ever been painted or framed of a cleaning table.
Yeah.
You'll never see
None. Zero.
one. Zero.
No, it's what he said. It's singles holding
It's
them up,
that
and
single fish.
That's.
Yep.
And if you got more,
Background is
Yeah, it
beautiful.
It really is.
Yep.
And I mean, that is where it's at. And that's where we got to get to is everyone needs to get together and try and do something like this. Because that is the one thing that Florida Keys has done.
Yeah.
well,
It is a catch and release fishery. And look at how great their fishing is there.
Yep.
Think about what we could be if everyone worked together, proposed the catch and release, and, push for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can tell you as guides, we are all working behind closed doors on this right now, and we are going to be a voice that will be heard.
Y'all are looking for excuses not to catch fish. You're looking for excuses
No,
on why you.
catching is great. Keeping is a
Thank
whole
you.
different thing.
Thank you.
So I would rather catch more and keep less. And I don't know. I find that if they tell me it's catch and release, I try even harder than I normally do.
Yeah.
Because I can take him to those spots where I know I can get them there, and I don't. You take your VIP clients, or you only hit it every now and then. Well, you know what? We're gonna go hit it there because I know you're not gonna take my pets away, or my business associates, or anything like that.
Yep.
You have something when you have those people that you can go there and you can show them a great time.
Well, y'all are an exception to a lot of different charter companies in South Carolina and North Carolina and beyond, in the fact that a customer comes back, you do the fish cleaning here.
Mhm.
I know in Georgetown, a lot of the guys say, hey, you can keep a couple, whatever.
Yeah.
Fred
But you're
Rourke.
cleaning
We'll
it.
talk about
Yeah.
Fred. He's been on with us. Fred, he's another one. He does not clean fish. But if you want to keep a couple to take and eat, he will. But he's not going to stock your freezer up.
That's where we're getting to be, and that
Yeah.
the thing is we have 4 hours on the charter. So most people who book a charter are environmental people. They love. I mean, look around. You love the scenery. Is it beautiful? I mean, most people don't book a charter and go out here and go, man, this sucks. I wish I could hurry up and get home. But that's the thing. When you start to explain, and it all comes back. I'm a firm believer it's education. It's YouTube. It's fishing shows. It's the future fishing shows. If you're explaining to people, hey, if you want dinner, take a fish home. We're not saying don't harvest a fish.
Right.
And if you got a family of 4 and you want to take 3 or 4 fish home, that's fine. But the days of taking 30 and 40 fish home, because what happens, and I say it all the time, if it goes in the refrigerator, it goes on the dinner plate. If it goes in the freezer, it goes in the
Goes
trash
to waste.
can.
That's true.
And that happens 90% of the time.
I get it. Like, we're paid to be fishing guides.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% on board with taking enough for dinner. You got 4 people, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But you show up with a 150 quart Yeti, I'm
Yeah.
not feeling it.
No.
And he can vouch for it. I can vouch for it. We got guys behind us vouch for it. I have had guys come down to the dock with these humongous coolers, and they have set an expectation to where I look at them and say, look, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. If you're looking for this, I would suggest, maybe going, to a different location, trying a different charter company. But your expectations I will never feel, and it's best that we just don't do this right
Well,
off the bat
go-
because I don't want to disappoint you.
Go on the headboat if you want to do that
Exactly.
stuff,
Yeah.
Take a 24-hour headboat trip.
Yeah.
And I'll say this year, once this all started kind of happening, and I had a realization that I was guilty as well. Each of my clients, I've had a conversation with, like, hey, we're going to work on catch and release. If you want a few for dinner, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if we get on a good bite, You know, I time and time again have had clients come back and be like, oh my gosh, well, I still have fish in the freezer from our last charter a year ago.
Yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
like, okay, well then I've already killed 4 fish today. Why are we not, why are we not letting these fish go? And this year, I like I said, I've had this conversation with all my charters, and it has been 99% well received.
100%.
Here's
Where
my
these
thing. We
people
go
understand.
back to talking about tips. I think my tips have gone up because I think that they see that we're not fish killing machines. We care about the environment. We care about next generation.
We've got to.
And when we spend time with people, look, we got 4 hours of people on the boat.
Yeah.
We're going to learn about their families. We're going to learn where they worked, where they retired. And when they get to know you and they know that you truly care about the environment and you truly care about everything else, you'll get way more tips than the guy who's filling up 3 cleaning tables and going, see you next Tuesday, you know.
It's education.
It's all
Do-
education.
Do the research. Learn the fish that you're fishing for. Learn what their lifespan is, where they are. You know, it's no different than, analyzing Google Earth to find a spot.
Yeah.
Learn what the fish are. Learn the life expectancy, how long it takes for them to mature, and present people with the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And most people, especially if it's a family there, they're going to be like, that's amazing. That's great. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I learned something today. They take something away from the trip aside from how to cast or do anything that we do.
And those
know?
kids that were on the boat,
They'll
they'll
remember it.
probably never forget.
They're the
I'll
next
remember that.
ones. Yeah, and they're going to do the same
And
thing.
hopefully, it carries over to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and I had this conversation with an elderly fellow the other day. We got on the Spanish really well. Good Spanish bite. We had probably close to 20 in the box. And I said, hey, man, how many people are you trying to feed realistically? Like, you've got enough for your family.
Mhm.
You can have a
then
fish
some.
fry. And like, let's think about this because I don't want to waste these fish. We need these fish.
Mm-hmm. I do it all the time.
And he said, we're good. We can cap it here. But I want to keep doing this. I want to keep trolling for these. My kids are catching fish.
They're having
my,
fun.
My grandsons are catching fish. We can release the rest. And I was like, perfect. Game on. We can keep rolling with this. As long as your kids are happy, you're happy. You got dinner. But you see 20 fish get killed. But what people don't see is the 60 I released the next 3
Exactly.
hours.
Correct.
So you can say what you want. And I know there's other people getting
Yep.
a little uptight
Go
about
ahead,
it.
butt hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Butt hurt. I'll
Butt
call
hurt.
it butt hurt.
They don't see what has happened throughout that whole charter.
That's like the NFL.
There's others to it.
It's like the NFL team. We're you watch a football game on Sunday and we're all yelling at the TV. You should have ran the ball. You should have thrown the ball. It's easy to call
Yeah.
plays from the other side
You're
of the
looking on other
sideline,
side, exactly.
but when you're in the moment,
yeah,
let them people do their job.
There's
Yes.
speaking of music,
Yeah, there's Captain
Captain
Nicholas.
Nick. He said, I'm going to take a ride.
Yeah.
but no, to answer your initial
Nick is-
question, Inglis, you said how important is it, and I will answer and say it's vital,
It is.
and it's not something that I'm going to see in my lifetime, or Chris, or Jason, or yourself. But if we don't try and get this ball rolling now, this next generation, and our inlet is great, like Jason said. For the size, tons of fish here. But if we don't start trying to take care of it and set the right bar, this next generation, this will be nothing but booze cruises.
Take the bar and think about if we practice that of what it could be in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
The amount of redfish that were here, the everything. How many more trout are in here?
I can tell
All
you,
that stuff.
just in my lifetime, you want a prime example? Look at the redfish.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. When I was a kid, we caught 1,000 redfish. When I was a teenager, we didn't catch hardly any redfish. Regulations, I put our redfish right now as good as they've ever been.
All right, so that music right there, Josh Brennan band, by the way, means we're going to take a quick break, pause for the calls, get another cold Mick Ultra, and pause for some words from our wonderful sponsors. We're going to come right back on the other side. I want to talk to you guys. I want to find out why y'all got into charter fishing. What brought you to charter fishing? And then we'll sneak a couple other personalities in here real quick. But we'll be right back on the other side. This is Trilogy Outdoors Podcast. And, fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here. So we'll be right back on the other side of the break.
Recently, Senator Goldfinch and myself were introduced to Healthy Cell and their incredible line of products. Steven started on a regimen of taking Focus and Recall after each daily workout to help his body recover from the physical demand of a workout and to help boost his focus and brain power that he needs on long days on the Senate floor. For myself, the last few years, I've been struggling to get the recommended amount of vitamins and nutrients in my body due to decreased appetite. When I was introduced to Bioactive Multi, I was excited to start a daily regimen that I felt would help my performance both on and off the water and would give me more energy to get through long days and increase my productivity. With Bioactive Multi, I know that I am getting the FDA daily recommended amounts, and with the mixed berry flavor and the ease of swallowing, my body is able to absorb these vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants through the proprietary gel format that Healthy Cell has created. This allows my body to quickly absorb and start using these valuable nutrients to help me get through long, busy days, just like we all go through in our daily lives. Go visit healthycell.com/trilogy and use our promo code TRILOGY, all caps, to receive 20% off of your first order and start living a better life today. For over 8 years, GovWorld Auctions has been solving surplus issues for municipalities and counties in South Carolina and beyond. Their turnkey customer service has made them one of the best in the business here in the U.S., and they are located right here in our home state of South Carolina. If you're looking for tractors, heavy machines, and vehicles, just to name a few, our partners at GovWorld have you covered. The process is simple, and their experts will come to you to inspect, photograph, and video all items before they make them available to everyone in the world for the bidding process. GovWorld online auctions are supported by mailers, emails, and promotion to the biggest buyers in the country, and they get results and the highest dollar possible for your items. Don't go out of state to another auction company. Support business here in South Carolina and let GovWorld get you top dollar for your items and put the money back in your city, municipality, or county. Give GovWorld a call or visit their website, govworld.com, for more info and to set up a visit with one of their experts to get you in the next auction. Don't let valuable items just sit behind a fence. Give GovWorld a call and start turning them into money today.
All right, and we are back here at Trilogy Outdoors Podcast, hanging on Jason's big wooden deck at Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters. You know, a lot of people enjoy sitting on Jason's big wooden deck, and today, no exception. There's a lot of smiling faces, and Cold Mick Ultra is on the table here, but we are hanging out talking charter fishing with some of the best captains in the Southeast, and the guys here from On the Fly Outfitters and Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters. And we're going to move on to another subject, but before we do that, you guys got a baseball or softball? What do y'all play?
Softball.
We play in an adult softball league.
Slow pitch.
Adult. Okay.
Men's slow pitch softball.
All
With
right.
all the guys that couldn't quite make it to college.
Yeah.
All right. Wait a minute.
With a side of pre-drinking before every game.
No,
Have
that's
to.
just our team. I've learned that.
Oh,
That's just us.
oh, well, no wonder we don't ever win.
I enjoy the
We can't
stands.
make it till the
Just
end.
us.
I drink the whole time while I'm there watching you guys. It's great.
Chris is the greatest. Chris is the official ambassador.
I want to be a cheerleader. That's all I want to do.
So we had a phone call during our break there from Seth Williams. Now, you know, Seth was recruited by Coastal for baseball, played at Coastal, and did he ever show up last year
But
to play softball with
He
y'all?
played one game for the greatest team ever, and that's Boats and Joe's.
Okay, but he only made one game?
but
made
he
one
showed up
game.
to all the practices.
He was at every practice.
Every practice, he was there.
But when it came game time,
Hang on.
Yeah,
Hang on. I got a sound. For that. Oh, hang on. So he never showed up.
I do think he played one game. I think he chased down a fly ball and
Missed it.
and
I was there.
and he injured.
Sorry,
he
Seth,
had,
it
he
is
had an
what it is.
injury to his pinky toe, and just he went on IR for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
All right, so I do want to say one thing about your Boats and Joe's, right? No,
Boats
did I
and
say
Joe's
that
is
right?
the name.
Boats
Yeah.
and Joe's.
So do y'all realize that y'all have the defending college national bass champion
Yes.
on your team?
He's
We
our
do.
first.
Okay,
He
I'm just
plays
making
first base.
He's the tallest person on our team, so he plays first base.
He's not playing today. No, he's
Somebody
he's
Andrew
at a
Breen.
tournament.
He's
at a
on the
tournament.
road.
He's
He's
at a tournament,
catching
yeah.
bass this week.
Do you know that every time he comes up to bat, as teammates, we may or may not haggle people. So anything, some people get up, we call them the tuna, whatever.
Yep.
Every time he gets up to bat, I yell some type of bass thing, and he immediately gets fired up. The other game, I called him Captain Buzzbait, and I swear he hit the ball as hard as I've seen anybody hit it. Said, "Come on, Buzzbait!" And he whack.
He finally found his pitch, and his pitch is from your ball cap a foot up. He wants to chop and hit, and now if he can hit that ball, he's getting on base.
He's a wood chopper.
He's a wood chopper.
If it is a strike, not happening.
Dude.
If it's head high,
if it was
on base.
1960s and you had to hit that little bell to get a score, he would be stellar.
yeah.
Well, so has anybody on Boats and Joe's struck out?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's been a handful.
Yeah, he's
Jason,
a captain.
You put your head down real quick.
It
What
was
happened?
not me. I have not struck
Okay,
out in 2
wasn't you?
years.
Okay.
But we have a few individuals that have struck out from time to time.
Is this fast pitch?
It's men's
It's-
slow pitch.
it's slow pitch.
But you start 1-1.
Yeah.
You already start
Yeah,
with
you
a
only
strike.
get 2 strikes.
And if
Oh,
you-
okay.
And if you foul off, it's a strike.
Yeah, so if you foul a ball and then you foul a second one, technically you strike out.
Oh, you're out. Okay, I
So
understand.
there
Yeah.
are a few strikeouts, but
But authentic strikeouts,
no.
I have seen, some bad mittens and butterflies.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
just.
Can we say his name? Can we say their name? He's not here.
He ain't here.
Oh,
It ain't me. I ain't struck out.
No, it ain't him, but I ain't gonna say it. I'll let him say it.
Hey. He is
with a guy like with a nickname like Sprinkles.
Oh, God.
With a nickname like Sprinkles.
Dude, here's the worst part. Dude, when he strikes out, he is such a fast runner. He's already standing at first when he strikes out. He's that fast. He's gone.
Oh, so you can run on a strikeout?
No.
No, but he's just that fast.
He's just
All
that
he's got to do
fast.
is make contact, and he
You
can't
turn
make
around and
contact.
he's already scored. He's that quick, but he can't hit the ball.
Oh.
All we need him to do is make contact.
Yeah, he could sneeze and they couldn't catch him.
I'll tell you what. The fraternity of charter fishermen is incredible. I'll say that. I'm commend you guys on what y'all have done and how y'all do it. And I'm jealous that I'm not a part of it anymore, but
You are a part of
I
it.
love promoting y'all, every single one of you that's sitting right here with me.
We appreciate it.
And
We thank you
you
for
guys
everything that you
all
do
know
for
that I
us.
love y'all.
No, and
Every
that-
single one of y'all. Y'all are the hardest working individuals.
It goes
on
a
the
long way.
water. And there's no doubt about it. And I love promoting y'all. I do. And with that being said, I also wonder, why in the hell did y'all get into this business? I mean, at the end of the day, everybody I'm going all the way back to segment 1. I'm going to talk about tipping. Everybody thinks that a charter involves the time they step on the boat to the time they get back to the dock.
No, that's
They
not
don't think about all the other stuff. They don't think about the fact that on your day off, you're going to do, and again, I'm sitting with six individuals right here that I know spend their time on the water when they get the opportunity and they're not on a charter.
Mm-hmm.
But you're putting time on the water. You're out there. You're figuring out where the fish are. You're spending time, and you're making sure that your customers have the best opportunity when they get on the boat. And that, to me, is what separates a true fishing guide from a boat captain that drives a boat.
Yeah, you could be a tour boat guide all day long. Your job's to drive the boat.
I think the difference is, do you want to be a charter boat captain or do you want to be a guide? I think a guide is a higher class of a charter boat captain where you actually put the time, you put the effort into figuring out where they are, knowing where the migration is, knowing their movements, and you're just spending that time on the water. You're guiding them to catching the best fish that they
The word
possibly
guide,
can.
I mean, look up the definition of a guide. I mean, our job is to guide people in the right direction.
Yep.
Yeah,
Put
everybody
them in
can
the
be
best situation. You are guiding, somebody's paying you to guide them in the right direction to
Right.
achieve something that they've always wanted.
Yes,
That's a guide.
that's the difference.
That's not a
between-
charter boat captain.
Yeah,
That is a
anybody can
guide.
get a charter boat license. You can get your captain's license. You can have whatever kind of boat that you want. But if you are putting the time in, you're showing the people your best. You're doing the research at home, on the water, off the water.
Yep.
All that stuff.
I don't know. I don't remember who told me this, but it was probably one of my favorite quotes I ever heard. And I think it was another boat captain. And he said, most people are like, ooh, it's my lucky day. Ooh, I'm lucky. He said, do you understand what the word lucky means? It is where preparation
And
meets
opportunity.
opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where they cross paths.
It's amazing.
And you just
J-Base.
happen to be luck. So some people are like, oh, he's got a horseshoe up his ass.
Yep.
He's lucky. Maybe he's the most prepared guy.
He's standing next to me with the
Captain
horseshoe.
Redbeard's over
Yeah,
here.
he's got the horseshoe.
But maybe that's the guy who is prepared for the most and has gotten the opportunity and maximizes the opportunity, and he is classified as, oh, you're just lucky.
Luck has a great part in it.
Yeah.
You know, you get lucky all the time. Plenty of tournaments I fish, I get lucky all the time.
And the guy they're pointing to, by the way, is wearing a Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo monthly winner hat.
He is.
So obviously,
Yeah, he does
knows-
get lucky.
He knows something about what he's doing, but another guy that's sitting on one of these tables has got like 10 of those damn hats. So I'm not. Anyway, I'm
Which
surrounded.
one? You got two of them
Yeah.
right here.
Oh yeah, I forget.
Yeah.
Mr. Crampy and Brim across
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
table from me, Caleb here. Yeah, I know. Dear Lord, he sends me a picture of these Brim and Crampy, and I'm like, dude, what are
Oh,
those?
just wait. We're going to start offering freshwater charters for Carolina Hook and Line.
I don't know why you don't.
We're
Hello.
Gonna. We're going to.
Hey,
Back it down, son.
I don't know why you don't. I don't know why you don't. There's a lot less competition over on the river.
Is there any competition on the river?
There is a lot less competition on the river.
Yeah.
I'm not going any further than that. What is he doing? That's the dog down.
That's the down and dog.
down and
Yeah,
dog,
he likes
whatever.
downward dog.
Captain Quentin stretching his back out, Jay,
Yeah.
wherever you're at. But anyway,
He likes it on his hands and knees.
why in the world?
It's a happy place.
Let's start over here with Caleb. Caleb, why? What brought you to charter fishing?
It's honestly
Obviously, first and foremost, got to be a love of fishing.
yeah. So I grew up in a family of fishermen. My brother, my granddad, my dad, we all fished, and we fished 12 months a year. So I had a love for fishing early, and then I moved down to this area and had another job, and I loved my job, but I also loved fishing. So in my spare time, I would fish, and I learned quickly that I could walk to the jetties without a boat and find fish. And in doing all that, I ran into some guys at Marlin Quay, and I would ask them, hey, I've got some fish. Can I use your cleaning tables? Because I don't have a cleaning table. And one thing led to another, and that's how I got my foot in the doors. They said, hey, what boat are you running? I said, well, I'm on feet. Like, I'm walking to the jetties to catch these fish. And they were like, do you know how to drive a boat? And I was like, yeah, I know how to drive a boat. I've been fishing my whole life. And that's how the snowball started, with some guys at Marlin Quay that took a chance on me and got my foot in the door. And that's really how it.
Is that when you were in that little,
started.
real tall Carolina skiff?
That was that was later. That
was before that.
That was
was a
actually
tuna
later.
skiff.
That was actually later. I got my foot in the door there first and started running one of their boats, and then a good friend of mine ended up getting a skiff and started, wanting to get more into fishing. And one day we made a joke. Actually, he had this skiff, and we had inshore fished a handful of times, and I made a joke, and I was like, dude, let's get some ratchet straps and let's put a recliner on the T-top.
Done.
Just bullshitting around. And he was like, hold on a second. What if we actually put a tower on this skiff? And I was like, no, like that's we ain't got to do all that. Let's just put a recliner up there to be funny.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, he threw a tower on it.
Oh, God.
And it was a collapsible tower on a 25-foot DLV skiff. And that opened up a whole nother window for us where, it started out as a joke, but then we started fishing some nearshore stuff.
Look at it now, though. All the redfish tournaments.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we would go nearshore, inshore, and be in this tower. And the tower, it was not a recessed tower, like where you're standing on the console. It was on top of this whole skiff.
Like a cap tower.
And we started seeing some fish that we were like, oh, man, like there's actually a little niche for this.
Yep.
And I started inshore fishing with it, offshore, nearshore fishing with it, and seeing cobia.
I was going to say cobia. Wow.
That'd be perfect.
We got into sight fishing these big jacks. We started seeing jack crevalle run through these schools of pogies, and we were actually 2 pounds off state record one day. where we were sight fishing these big jack crevails running through
Oh,
the
that's
school.
awesome.
Just because
fun.
we were like, screw it, let's put a tower on a giant skiff. We,
Yeah.
we got our ass beat 9 out of 10 days in a flat bottom boat, but we got out there and put the work in. And all that led to me falling in love with this inlet in this area and continuing my passion for taking people fishing, because over time I got to catch these fish. I got to see these fish. I got to experience these things. And what a better way to continue it by taking people that haven't got to.
Yep.
And putting them on these fish, getting to see the things that you get to see and at times almost take for granted. So that's kind of how that snowball happened for me.
I was offshore last week in the South Carolina Wahoo Series fishing one day, and I looked at the guys on the boat, one who doesn't get to go offshore much at all, who I invited. I'll say his name, Jason Britt, a good friend of mine. And
He bass fishes, don't he?
Huh?
Is he bass fish?
He does a little bit, but he mostly catfishes.
Catfish.
I've heard that name.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that name.
And
Put some numbers up, though, when it comes to sheep's head and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I looked at him and I said, it's a shame that we can't share this with everybody. It's a shame that everybody doesn't get to get out here and enjoy this, and not the fishing part of it, just the whole overall experience.
Well, he is. He's a family guy. He's always out doing stuff with the kids,
Yep.
all that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, his Gage, his son, is a huge hunter and fisherman.
Hunter, fisher, he does it all.
Yep. But Caleb, first and foremost, I want to say one thing. Merle's Inlet's a lot better off with you here.
I appreciate it.
We are. We're a lot better off with you here. You're a great addition here, and I say that from one of the old farts, because that's the fact of the matter. I am. Merle's Inlet's a lot better because of all y'all. And Jason, you grew up here. Moving on to the Flounder Pounder real quick. Not cutting you off. Hang on. But, dude, where you started was on the pier.
Yeah.
And, recently I did a magazine article. We did several magazine articles about the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo, which we are in charge of.
Yes.
And you brought up so many pictures of your past experiences in the rodeo, your wins and places and everything else. And I'm going to guess that a lot of that had a big role in your love of fishing.
Yeah. First and foremost, I was extremely blessed. My parents were originally from Columbia. My dad got a job opportunity, moved down here as one of the incentives. He got, to rent a place on the beach. The company said, if you're willing to move down here, we will help you out with this. So very, very fortunate. I grew up within walking distance of a pier.
Right.
So that, that's what started it. What overall started my love for water. I love water. From a small age, I wanted to surf. I wanted to play in the water. I was obsessed with water as a kid. And the fact that a pier was within walking distance, both my parents worked 7 days a week. So whatever you wanted to do, you had to do it with your legs.
Yourself.
Or you had to ride a bike. So first and foremost, had I grown up anywhere else, I don't know that I would have ever got this opportunity. But I grew up on the pier. That's where I grew up. Very fortunate. Went up there with some little kids, and had a bunch of older people kind of, take the kids under our wing, kind of what we try to do. And, you had a bunch of old timers showing these kids, how to fish, and that's what ultimately started it. But as kids, but as kids at a very young age, we were competitive. We would go up there, and there was a lot of people my age, and it was like, you want to win, you want to catch fish. So that started the wheel. The wheel was...
That's important. If you're not competitive...
Yeah. If you're not
You've
competitive...
got to have that competitive drive if you're going to be successful in this.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're just anybody else.
Anything.
And that's crucial.
Yeah, that's what happened. And, myself, Robbie Remsen, Tommy Warner, the list goes on and on. A lot of that group of core kids became captains.
Yep.
And what it was is we were 7, 8, 9 years old. Very, very fortunate, to be able to walk up to a pier and fish. And,
And I'm sure the old guys welcomed y'all.
Not at first. That generation, it was, there was what they call them, real salty men.
Yep.
There was some old salt, so I'm sure they looked around and, were like, these damn little kids, quit running around. But what happened is the main thing is we learned how to catch bait. And this is where we became popular is we were down there throwing the cast nets all day. We were setting mud minnow traps, and we rolled up to the pier with a ton of bait. And so then it became, hey.
They had to like you then.
Hey, you mind if I get some of
come
those
on
sand
over here.
fleas? Hey, you mind if I borrow some of those live shrimp? And what happened is we met friends. And friends, people that were fishing up there for 30 and 40 years started sharing their knowledge. The book of knowledge opened.
Yep.
And they were telling us how.
Trading bait for knowledge.
Yeah. And so what happened is immediately you start to become successful. And you start to gain success. Well, you got 3 or 4 buddies over here where you got to beat him. So you've got the competition factor. You've got this. And then the introduction, we talked about it. I truly think, and it might have been, T-ball or Little League or something, but the Grand Strand Rodeo was the first opportunity I had to display that I could catch a fish and gain some type of award. Recognition. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I caught a fish, and all these people are like, oh my God, look at this fish, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, well, I want to catch another one. I want to get a bigger one. I want to get a different species. And then that led to tournament fishing. For me, so I did the pier, I did the Grand Strand Rodeo, I did a bunch of tournament fishing, and an individual basically said, why don't you become a fishing guide?
Yep.
And at the time, just like yourself, I was a bartender, I waited tables. I was kind of trying to figure out, what do I want to do with life, because I had a lot of good hobbies, but, the $1 million question when you're at that age is, how am I going to make money?
How am I
going to afford to live?
Yep.
And that was presented to me. I said, why don't you become a captain and get paid to take people fishing? And I think, honestly, I kind of shunned it and was like, look, this is my passion. I don't want to do it for work. But it's funny because now looking back on it, the exact same drive, the exact same knowledge, even bartending, going back to bartending, the skills that I learned, how to deal with every single group of people, whether it's a crazy drunk, whether it's a silent person, all those skills that you develop, waiting tables, bartending, you're becoming to understand people. So I developed those skills, and then I had the competitive drive of fishing, and it just collided. It collided when a man offered me an opportunity and said, hey, I got a boat. If you go get your captain's license, I'll pay you money to go fishing. At the time, all I heard was, I will pay you to go fishing.
Money.
And I'm thinking, who in the world would pay me to go fishing? Because I would go fishing every day of my life for free.
Yep.
And that's how I got started. And it was a reality check because when I got on to charter fishing, it was very, very quick to understand that, you did not have the skill set. You did not have the knowledge. You were not capable of being good. And I think failing, as a person, in the beginning lit the fire that I've got to be better. I've got to figure these fish out. I've got to be on my A game because the next cat that's coming down the dock expects me to. And I think that goes back to being competitive. And,
Yep.
it just.
And I want to mention real quick, you not the individual who started your business, but I want to mention somebody I know played a big part in in what you become now, and that is Charles Stone.
Yes.
And Crazy Sister Marina. Excuse me,
Marlon
Marlon
Quay.
Quay Marina. We'll get to Crazy Sister in a minute, but Marlon Quay Marina and the Stones were awesome. That marina was known everywhere. Yeah. I mean, the tournaments they hosted out of there were incredible. I can't remember the exact name of the big billfish tournament that was here, but I know Mr. Charles believed a lot. Loved you to death like a son, and you did a lot for him as much as he did for you. But I know that was your stepping stone to where you are now.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I mean, as a kid, again, I grew up. I used to ride my bike down to Marlon Quay, watch them bring in the fish. As old as I could remember, I went down there and I was like, man, this is like the coolest place ever.
Yep.
And so, again, you're trying to achieve your captain's license. You're working to achieve the skill. And my phone rang one day, and it was Charles. And I will never forget this till the day I died. I hung that phone up and said, I cannot believe that man is this stupid to call me and want me to come help him. Like, clearly he doesn't understand. but that's,
You got to think about something. We were fortunate when we came along. And, I was not a year before you, but when we came along, there wasn't but, 6 charter boats that fished inshore.
yeah.
And that might be inflated a little bit.
There wasn't many.
No. And Charles saw the opportunity because remember, back then, everybody was the sea rakes, the sidekicks and stuff going offshore. Not many people had broken into the inshore. There was that one goofball that was doing the fly fishing experiences.
Captain Extreme.
Not you, but
I mean,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then of course Captain Shannon Curry was doing inshore stuff at that time. But then it was just you, me, Jay, and Jay.
I was not embraced well by the masses. I mean, we had our core group. Obviously I've known you forever.
Yep.
I still to this day joke with Jay Beige that, for a year he wouldn't talk to me.
Nope.
I'd call him on the radio.
No,
hey,
he was tough to break into. He was tough to get.
Here's my
on
thing.
your side.
I was born a motor mouth. I have had no problem talking my whole life. I'd be sitting beside Jay. He'd be catching fish 3 at a time. And I'd call him and say, hey, man, are you catching anything? Not a single bite.
Not a thing.
And this is after the longest time that he wouldn't talk to you. But English can vouch for it. Back then, a lot of people didn't use the radio. A lot of people didn't communicate. You had a bunch of individuals who were very secretive. I feel like our core 4 kind of changed everything. And even, when I first even entertained the idea, the amount of old salties that were like, you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Get out of here. Like, get out of my way.
I get that completely. The first 2 years I chartered,
Mm-hmm.
nobody would say a word to me. I would call them on the radio and be like, hey, man, I'm trying to pass. You want me to pass on your port or starboard? I'm trying to be respectful and not mess up your fishing. Not a word. Nobody said anything to me. So I was like, well, I'm just going to idle as slowly as possible.
And look at you now. You don't even talk on the radio.
Well, no.
He does that to people now. They're like, Caleb, you catching fish?
How the times have changed.
How's your day? I didn't ask you how your day was. You catching fish? Man, it's a beautiful day.
Yep. Sunny skies.
But nobody gave me the time of day. And it's funny to see the transition that I know you've been a part of as building a community of communication, which, and like you gave me shit for it. But at the same time, like, it's good to know that there's people there that are willing to help and at least say, hey, how's your day going? Everything all right.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand, and I'm sure that as fellow captains you understand, is communication involves elimination. When we're talking, when we're shooting the shit, when we're talking, here's the thing. If you send 8 of the best guides that we have in our area in 8 different directions, you're covering 8 times as much water.
Yep.
What we do is we eliminate dead water quicker. We find the fish and maximize our time, and that's all through communication.
Yeah.
Your single boat operation that's running off the ramp, he's going to hit 4 or 5 spots. If it just happens to not be his day,
He's out.
then he may not achieve anything. But the amount of information that we share, process, whether it's text messages and all that, it's all aimed to speed up this process to get it to maximum results as fast as possible.
Well, here's the deal.
Sure.
Everybody, every single one of y'all are out there trying to achieve the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got this issue, and I had to go through this with a young friend of mine who is now graduated from college this summer, or graduated back in January, December, whatever. But we had to have this discussion because I asked him a duck hunting question. Okay, now I asked him a duck hunting question, but he and I have had fishing conversations over the years, and of which I have offered up nonstop information to help him out. Okay, so I asked a duck hunting question because I had not been duck hunting anything, and he was tight-lipped, and I quickly
There's a give and take that needs to be there.
I had to quickly make him aware, and I actually added his dad into the text so that his dad would note it, that I was doing this. And I said, it's funny how this thing works.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for years, I have been your source of knowledge and information when you would hit the water. I asked you one question about duck hunting, and you will not respond. I said, but remember, as soon as you quit giving, you will not be receiving.
Yeah.
I said, just remember that. I
That's
said,
the hard part.
this is your graduation gift.
But that's how it works. You know, I was talking about in the very beginning, the whole Jay Beige. I mean, hands down, I think Jay Beige is probably the best fisherman, all-around fisherman I've ever seen in my career.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And you're right.
He
but
could go offshore, inshore. He can go catfishing, doesn't matter. The breaking point for us was I quickly realized that this man is not going to provide me with information because probably I haven't gained his respect. I don't have enough knowledge. So what I did in that situation was
Learn.
every time that I was catching fish or I found bait, I called him. And I said, look, here's the bait. Here's what I know. And I think there became a point where it was like, okay, I'm doing everything I can to help you. Throw me a bone.
Yep.
And that give and take relationship with anybody, you're going to get a lot more out of it than being a one-way street.
So my quick way in was by the fact that I bought Jay Sconier's boat.
Mhm.
He needed me to get hit that Scout. So I bought his 23-foot Sea Fox. I hate even saying that name. Anyway, I bought that boat, and it was amazing how quick, still, at first he was helping me a little bit, but after that, it got tough. But then all of a sudden, the one day, I left Belky Bear, and I went to an area. I was going somewhere else, and actually came across an area that my brother on the boat with me had to go to the bathroom. We stopped, and I marked a bunch of stuff, and I said, let's put lines out. We put lines out and had 4 fish on immediately. Got them in, put the lines back out, 4 fish on immediately. And I was like, hey, dude, I think we're on to something here. So the next day, we were all at Belky Bear. It was the middle of king season. And I called Jay and I said, hey, I'm leaving. Y'all follow me. And they followed me, and we went there. And then it became the new thing was going there. Mm-hmm. And then Jay Bay started sharing stuff with me. That's how I got it. That's how I got it from
He was a tough cookie. And looking back, I appreciate it. Sure. Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But that was also a time, like I said, a lot of people didn't talk on the radio. And I've been to other places. I've talked to other charter companies. I'm real good friends with a lot of charter guys in Charleston, real good friends with some charter guys in Wilmington. They laugh at the fact that we talk on the radio nonstop.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I got to go bluefin tuna fishing out of Moorhead.
How crazy are they? They got to be on the radio.
And I didn't believe it. I was with Captain Jackie Dufour.
Oh, legend.
And we got out there and got it trolling, and Jackie said, watch. He said, because we were around when they were filming the Outer Banks Wicked Tuna show.
Yep, Wicked Tuna.
And so we're seeing boats with cameras and all these crews and stuff. And he said, just wait and watch. He said, as soon as somebody's hooked up, they're going to call their coordinates out. I was like, no way.
Oh, yeah.
No way. And fishing frenzy that morning.
TDs.
As soon as he hooks up and says, I'm at blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Threw out his coordinates, said, I'm doubled up. Both these fish are 400 plus.
Yep.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. He just shouted them out, and then the rest of the morning, every hour, every 30 minutes, whatever it was, you'd hear somebody say, well, this is vessel whatever. I'm hooked up. These are my coordinates.
And that's the hard part because you chase the bite.
And so then it becomes a cat and mouse. Like, well, all right, do I wait for this school to move or do I follow these? But the point being, like, they weren't as tight-knit as the TV show showed it to be. They were trying to help each other.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wanted to see fish caught.
Yep.
Well, you got to think. I mean, even let's take what we're doing now. I mean, we're recording a show. It's April. We're catching Spanish. We're going to one location. There's 30 charter companies out there.
Yep.
At least.
We're spread it out, and we're all giving ourselves a lot of room.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Cat starts catching fish. We got them over here. We got them over there. And that tight circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until we're looking like something that you would see on the Oregon Trail.
Oh, you take something like today.
Yeah.
You go out there, and you're trying to produce for your clients. And you post a picture on social media. Yeah. Anything like that, you talk about it, and the next thing, you got everybody out there with their buddies.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
charter companies, and they're fun fishing, and they're blocking you out from trying to get a fish for your client.
Yeah. But it's one of those things.
So y'all ran into that today?
Yeah. a lot of what's
Absolutely.
going on, it depends on who you talk to. They'll say social media is great and bad. I post a lot of stuff on social media, especially on Instagram, and I have my clients call me, and before they even talk to me, they say, I see the Spanish are running.
Yeah,
I see the big
fishing,
fish are running.
Yep.
Oh
Blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah. But then, like you said, you got other charter companies, they're watching the same thing. So it's a give and a take. But it wasn't like this 20 years ago. 20 years ago, nobody said anything. Social
Exactly.
media didn't exist.
That's right.
And the fact that everybody kept things a secret made a lot of people think that this area wasn't that good for fishing. So it's blown the area up, but quadrupled the amount of people that fish it. And you go back to the conservation thing. So now we got to take care of the fish and do all the right things. But
Well, it's the bad part. Like you talk to your clients, and say, hey, you know what? We may be able to get 1 or 2 bites on a big fish today.
yeah,
But then you go out there, and a picture gets posted. Somebody says something, and you got everybody out there trying to do it, and it's a group of guys, a group of friends. Hey, they're out there. Let's go get one. Let's get one right now. And that's the hard part. You get out there, and you're trying to you find these fish, and you don't want to talk about it.
well, I feel like everybody. The running joke is that everybody is secretive until they've caught 1 or 2.
Look,
That's it.
look.
And then the cat's out the
look,
bag.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
you
like
own
that. Like that's the hard part.
it. You
Like,
made my phone.
You got to be close-lipped about it, because if you talk about it, everybody's going out there.
Yep.
So
But it's
trying to keep something to yourself to hey, I want to take my clients out today. I want to get a trophy fish for you.
Yep.
Maybe we can make a mount, maybe we can't. But then you get everyone else. You post it. It's almost like you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks by the time that they're gone to post it.
But at the same time, our number one goal is to make our customers happy.
Oh, 100%.
The number one goal, it is
Yes.
a competition every day between you and your customers' expectations,
That's the
not the
strive
guy
every
beside
day.
you.
Every day.
But there is a fine line, because when you're catching good fish, there's nobody on earth I would rather share it with than my buddies.
Oh, absolutely.
And most of my buddies are captains.
Yeah.
But the problem is you come in as a buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. And everybody, wow, that's awesome.
And you leave as an enemy.
And you leave as an enemy.
So
man.
I actually have a kind of a rabbit trail story here, and I've actually never told this story to anybody.
Uh-oh.
This was
Virgin ears
probably
here.
12, 13 years ago. I just kind of got down here, and a friend of mine had a boat, and he was like, man, I really want to inshore fish. Do you know where to go? Do you know what to do? And I was like, look, man, not really, but I'm down to go learn. If you want to go out and try. So anyways, we spent some time on the water. We're on the boat. We're running around the inlet trying to find what spots we need to go at what tide, blah, blah, blah. So we're driving down the inlet, and we look over, and we see Captain Inglis and Captain Jay Bache in 2 different boats side by side, and they're talking. And he pulled back on the throttle and was like, "What's going on there?" And I said, "Well, that's Captain Inglis and Captain Jay." I was like, "Those guys know, they know fishing, and so don't get up on them, but there's something, there's a reason they're side by side talking." And we had been hitting the bottle a little bit that day. Some more than others.
Yeah.
And my buddy looks over and goes, "Hey, Inglis, hey, Jay, y'all's a bunch of mother effing blah, blah, blah bitches," and just screams it out. And I was like, "Bro, shut up."
Yeah.
No. I was like,
That's
those are
it.
respected people. You can't. He was like, "Oh, I was just making a joke." And then as soon as I look up, Inglis and Jay are just like,
As soon as they yell, "Fish on!"
who are these kids screaming
Yeah, it's
and
like,
yelling at us?
hush,
And I was like, bro,
shush.
Oh,
Yeah, rod to the side.
Shut
Open your
up, man.
bail as this boat
hold it
passes.
to the side.
Seriously, yeah, you open your bail.
he was just drunk screaming at him. And I was like, golly, man, these guys are going to kill us. You can't yell at these people.
Yeah.
These are fishermen. These are captains in the inlet, blah, blah, blah. And they started throwing, Inglis and Jay both threw their hands up and looked at us. And I was like, oh, my God, man, this is embarrassing.
That's the
We
greatest.
got to go on. We got to keep moving.
Yeah.
My drunk buddy just cussed him out. And we don't even know him. But, so that.
Those are the best clients when they will cuss another boat out for getting too close, and you're like, this is normal, every day.
But that's the greatest thing about fishing. I'll quote one of my
Hey,
favorite.
I'm going to ask real quick. Were we right over there?
No.
We weren't? Okay. The only reason I'm asking because For the longest time, we tried to keep that quiet, and it just didn't work.
Kind of like Area
I'll
51.
tell you where
Yeah.
I'll tell you where you were.
Yeah, it just didn't work, dude. We tried right there, and we would do the side beside the boat.
That's where you were when we saw you.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, this was like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
But like I was saying,
so
they,
we would try to keep it quiet, but you couldn't do it.
but that's the greatest thing about fishing. I'll quote one of my favorite fishing shows, and they say that fishing is the only sport where a legend and a greenhorn walk the same docks.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
any given day, you could be, something great can happen. I mean, I tell my clients all that, and they're like, oh, we haven't had the best day. Well, you got a line in the water. You're 1 minute away from catching the best thing of your life.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest thing about fishing. You've got people that are in the entry level. And there's no knock on it. I'm an older guy now. I used to be that entry level. But there's guys that are starting their careers. There's guys that are putting a cap on their career. There's legends, and there's people who are trying to learn. And they all work together as one unit. I have sent this text message to numerous people. Nobody that's sitting here. It's primarily other people. And I said, look, guys, it's one inlet. There's no reason on earth why we all can't work together. We all have the same goals. We all have the same, routine. We all, get cut, sunburned the same way. Why in the world are we all not working together as one group of people?
No one can, because no one can get on the same level that we want to be.
Well, it's not even a we thing. I mean,
I say we
I
as
agree
all of
with
us
you.
here.
To
I
be-
agree.
That's the hard part.
to
'cause
be a successful fisherman, you have to have an ego. You have to get on the
you
water
have to
and
have a
believe
drive.
I am going to achieve my goal today.
Yes, I agree with you.
No, the day I wake up,
I think the
if I
important
don't have
thing
the
is-
drive to be the best at the dock, then I need to quit my job.
Yeah.
You have to care.
But you have
That's
to
the
care.
thing. You have to care.
See, that's the
You-
way I
you
was.
do.
I'm an older guy now. When I was young, I wanted to be the best that had ever walked this inlet. And I'm not going to lie to you.
We
That
should
was
all drive for that.
that was my drive. Now, as I'm older, I just want to be a part of something great.
Yep.
Right.
And that's good enough for me. And I'd rather be a part of something great. We joke and say, there's a big table.
Yeah.
All you want is a seat at the table. If you have a seat at the table,
Yeah.
then you got all your best friends, you got all the clients, you got everything you need. But
I
if you don't
agree.
have a seat at the table, but you don't need to be trying to take the table over. You just need a seat.
Sure,
A
sure,
seat.
sure.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. It is the whole seat at the table, but you always want to be the head of the table.
I mean, shit. Why
I'm
not?
a- I'm
Name,
about-
why not name the table after me?
Yeah, like, and even that, like, I'm not about keepers. I'm about numbers.
No, that's fine.
Like,
That's what I'm saying.
when we get back to the dock and you're like, oh, I went like 2 for 12. I want to come back and be
So you
like,
call it 12.
well, I went 2 for 30.
Yep.
I-
call it 30.
Justin went 6 for 127.
yeah, well, yeah,
that day.
Justin does do that. He's got
So
those
you want-
secret spots.
You
know?
want the biggest number.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
I'm
what,
about numbers. I'm not about keepers. If
Sure.
I want to please clients because I want a tight line all the time.
Yep.
So I don't care if I only have 1 or 2 keepers. But if I get 30 or 40 fish, like,
that's a banner
that's
day.
a banner day.
No, and that's what I'm saying. My point is, the day, and I've told myself this, the day I lose my drive is the day I need to hang this up.
Yeah,
I
oh,
agree.
absolutely.
Regardless of what your goal is, if your goal is numbers, if your goal is
Keepers
clients,
or whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is, the day I lose my drive is the day that I need to hang my license up.
Yeah.
The tug is the drug.
You can be a framer or something.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
Masonry.
I agree. I have questioned. There's been good years. There's been bad years. There's
I
been
think you'd be a
frustrating
great
years.
mechanic.
No.
Here,
Why would I
You'd be a truck mechanic.
He really doesn't have the mechanic hands.
talk about no?
It'd be a new forte for him.
I give Jason a hard time about, not fishing as much as he used to. Just go back a year.
Mhm.
So I give Jason
Oh,
a
don't
hard
count
time.
this year. He's
So,
fishing
no,
more than
I
anybody
know,
else.
I know.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him a hard time. I give him a hard time
He's got
about
to
not
prove it. He's got a point to
about
prove
not
this year.
fishing.
I do.
And
I know.
the fact of the matter
I'm
is,
old, but
I
I'm
love
back.
it. I love it.
when you're having to worry about boats breaking down, things getting fixed, things running, everything running, and all the other stuff, you can't be on the water.
Your responsibilities
You
change.
got
yeah.
you got
Yes.
other
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And
But it's important as a person no matter what your job is, no matter what your career is that you don't get sidetracked.
That's it.
Yep.
And you got boats to fix, you got stuff to do, you got all this to do. But at the end of the day, you're a fisherman.
Yep.
You're a guide.
Yep.
Your blood is to guide people to success, and it's not hard to get distracted.
No.
But at the end of the day, when you pull back and you look and say, okay, what am I?
Yeah. Well, we have done a great job of staying on topic. Unfortunately, what we have not done is managing time well. But there is one more person sitting here at the table that I want to talk about why and how he got into it. Is Captain Chris Reagan over here. And but by the way, I want to mention to you, Jason, real quick, that the new manager, owner of Crazy Sister, paid you a huge compliment yesterday in a meeting and said how proud he was of how successful you've become and how much work you put into it. I just wanted to leave that at that.
I
But
appreciate that.
let's talk Captain Chris. And Chris, we have a mutual friend, Patrick Sparks, who mentioned your name years ago, multiple times. I think you had been a customer at Sparks Toyota.
Absolutely.
And I had not met you. You were on the north end and everything. So when did you get into charter fishing, and what in the world brought you into it? Now, you were a first responder, I know, originally.
I was. Yep. So my intro to charter fishing is completely different.
Yep.
I was happy being a mate. I loved working big boats. I loved doing offshore. That was my favorite thing, and it's changed over the years. This was 20 years ago. Blah blah blah. So the only reason that I went and got my captain's license is because the captain that I work for, we worked for the same place, did all that stuff. But due to certain circumstances, he wouldn't show up. So we would sit there, and I would be there as the mate with clients and all that. Yeah, like I would sit there with the mate and be like, I'm sorry. Like, what do? I don't know anything. So after like 6 trips, I got tired of it. So I'm like, I'm getting my captain's license because I don't care if he shows up, blah, blah, blah.
You'll take the boat and go.
I'm taking these people fishing. And, I mean, there were some ones that were locals. They had fishing. They had their license for South Carolina. So I'm like, screw it, let's roll. I was more than well capable to drive the boat. I could do anything. I could rig everything. I could do all that stuff. That's how I got my captain's license. I said, you know what? I'm getting it. You don't show up, I'm rolling.
Wow.
So, but I grew up fishing. My dad was a huge influence in me. We fished everywhere for where I grew up, what I did. My days off, I fished. I walked. I drove. I rode my bicycle. Whatever I had to do to go fishing. So I have fished all my life. And learning different things, doing all that stuff, that was me. But my whole captain's license was driven by that. Because if not, I'd be an offshore mate. I loved mating on the back of the boat. I loved rigging baits. I loved pulling baits. I loved setting the spread out, doing all that stuff. And like I say, that was back in my offshore days. I don't do that stuff anymore. I do it for fun. I do it for money. That's about the only time that I really
say tournaments and money and for fun.
That's all I do the offshore for. I'm in the inshore and nearshore now. I love the shallow stuff, all that stuff. But to get my captain's license, it took someone else because I was happy where I was. I loved working the back end of a boat.
That's crazy. So you got into it because your captain was a drunk and couldn't show up.
It was work schedule, all that stuff, and more than enough times, you would sit there and you were with clients, I'm sorry,
you hate to disappoint them.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
We can fish off the dock here, but if you guys want to go online and get your $10 fishing license, I'll take you. And most of them did that. They would log on, they would get a 3-day saltwater fishing license, and I'd take them fishing.
Yep.
And it didn't matter.
And
I think I made more money then too. That was the worst part about it. But that is literally the drive that it took me to get it. Because if not, I'd be working a sporty, a big center console. Like, I'd still be doing the offshore stuff.
Man, I tell you, I feel like that's become my job now. Is I'm Lucas's mate whenever we fish. And he is one hell of a boss man.
God.
He
But
is.
He's also in the middle of getting his captain's license, and I'll tell you.
Oh, Lord,
he
look
doesn't-
out.
He
Saw
has.
that.
Lucas
he has-
Williams with a captain's
He
license.
has no incentive of doing charters. He doesn't.
No, he
but
does not.
I will say this much: he would be awesome because he
is.
cares.
He is a
He
great
is-
guy.
He is
He is a
competitive,
wonderful guy.
and he is competitive when he gets on the boat. Doesn't matter what he's going to do.
Have you
And,
gone bass
I mean,
fishing with him?
Oh God, yeah, that's where I got my start. What
yeah,
are you
like
talking about?
talk about competitiveness.
Yeah. Go bass fishing with Lucas. Yeah,
He's
you
a
better
great
hang
guy.
on.
Like he's a family guy. He loves his wife, loves his son, like all that. Everything that he does, you know,
Yep.
it's outdoor oriented, it's family oriented. He does it all.
Yep, he does. And bass fishing, I got my start with him. I suckered him into bass fishing with me in some
I
tournaments.
saw the Facebook picture.
And we won some tournaments. We did good for a while, and then, but soon as he got bit by the saltwater,
The bug.
he was done.
Saltwater bug got
He
him.
was done. I mean, done.
Freshwater's for drinking.
Fresh water's for drinking, salt water's for
Hey,
fishing.
Oh, it done hit a nerve with
Oh
Caleb.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I learned a lot of respect in 4 years of really doing a lot of freshwater fishing. I learned a lot of respect for freshwater guys.
Hey, look, it's easier to drink a beer trolling than it is casting for bass.
You can't do it.
So I lost
Casting
my
for
other
bass, you can't.
It's
We
hard.
figured that out in
Good
Florida.
beer.
Yeah.
That's
We tried. We had my bachelor party and
Yeah, peacock bass fishing.
Yeah, we
all
brought,
I catch
like-
is largemouth
we
bass.
brought like 18 cases of beer, and we're like, cast, and we looked at each other and was like, when are we gonna drink beer?
Exactly. That's what offshore.
Well, you know what happened
Saltwater
next?
fishing's for
CPR, chest compressions.
Oh yeah, y'all's
We'll
casting.
say- we'll
Y'all
save that
casting
for
dick
another
all
episode.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
That.
When the
Oh, my
captain saves the other captain.
Yeah, I
Yeah, we'll
forgot.
save
Y'all
that for
had-
another episode.
Y'all had a credit. Well, speaking of saving for another episode, you know, here's the sad thing. I've got Captain Justin Witten. I had Captain Nick here, Captain Quentin. Those are going to be our A lineup for the next episode because we're going to owe them getting on here, but we are at almost an hour and 45 minutes, so we're going to have to cut this thing short. But I think in case y'all were wondering, yeah, a podcast talking about charter fishing goes over well, so...
does.
It's nice to have y'all on Trilogy Outdoors, and we're going to do another episode of it. But we'll get together and figure out getting something going where we just talk charter fishing, because there is so many different aspects. We haven't even
There
gotten
is.
into all the funny stories, all the great things that have happened, all the bad stories, which we all have those.
Talk for days.
The puking, the
Oh,
Oh gosh,
Puking?
I got better ones than that.
puking, pooping, peeing, and
We all do.
I had
we all
client-
do.
I had
we
cli-
have
I had
plethora of
I had
stories.
clients on shrooms the other day.
no way.
Straight up.
Oh
was
my
awesome.
God.
I had clients on
It
shrooms.
was awesome.
Every day is an adventure.
Yeah.
He's talking about his shrooms. They all know. I had a guy yesterday.
Harmonica.
Your
Yesterday,
harmonica?
he
Harmonica.
brought a harmonica,
It's fish call.
and before I was allowed to cast any line or bait any hooks, he had to sing a romantic song to the fish because he truly believed that it put him in touch with the bigger fish. And my man harmonica a song
All your fish.
before every spot we stop.
He
We'll have,
said,
we'll have to do that. We'll get the full story on the next
Yeah,
one.
we're gonna definitely get it. But hey, listen, I want to thank y'all both, all three.
Thank you. Thank you, English.
Sitting
Yes,
down.
thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us. It has been fun, and there's so much more to talk about, and we will cover it, and we'll keep people up to date through Trilogy Outdoors on the move for the catch and release and stuff. And I don't want to call your name out. Did we call it out already?
No.
No, we
Yeah,
haven't.
we'll wait and we'll bring that back up.
Work
But
in
Suspense-
progress.
The suspense is building.
the suspense is building,
That's right.
and
It's coming.
thank you guys so much for joining us. But this has been another episode of Trilogy Outdoors Podcast, and you know you can find us on all the podcast platforms. Here's the thing we need you to do. We need to make sure you download it. Don't just listen to it. Download, click like, and save and share this thing. But thank you guys so much, and we'll be back next week with another great episode talking fins, fur, and feathers here on Trilogy Outdoors.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.